Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to Promotech. Thanks for tuning in. The Pixel 11 lineup just leaked, and on the surface it looks like Google is playing it safe again. But underneath that familiar shell, there are quiet shifts happening that could completely change how Pixels perform, last, and even how long you keep them. This isn't about specs, it's about direction. Let's dive right into the video, because the first thing people noticed, the design, might actually be the least important change here. Yeah, the Pixel 11, 11 Pro, and 11 Pro XL look almost identical to last year. And honestly, that's not laziness, that's intent. Google has been refining this camera bar identity since the Pixel 6, and instead of chasing flashy redesigns like Samsung or Xiaomi, they're locking in recognition. But here's the subtle twist, the fully blacked-out camera bar. It seems cosmetic, but side by side, it actually makes the phone feel more premium and unified, almost like Google is quietly simplifying its visual language. And when brands simplify, it usually means they're preparing for something bigger underneath. Now here's where things start to get interesting. That telephoto lens change on the Pro models, from rectangular to circular, looks small, but it's actually a signal. Google hasn't touched that telephoto hardware since the Pixel 7 Pro, which is honestly wild. Meanwhile, competitors like Vivo and Oppo have been aggressively upgrading zoom tech. So why change the shape now? It likely means a new sensor, possibly larger, maybe cheaper to produce, but more importantly, better optimized for computational photography. Google doesn't win with hardware alone, they win with processing. So if they're upgrading the input even slightly, the output could jump more than expected. But here's the trade-off. If you're on the standard Pixel 11, you're probably getting the same camera system again. That gap between regular and Pro is quietly growing. And speaking of quiet upgrades, the biggest one might be the chip. The Tensor G6 moving toward a 2nm process ahead of Apple sounds insane on paper, especially when previous Tensor chips lagged far behind Apple Silicon. But this isn't about beating Apple overnight. It's about closing the gap where it actually matters, efficiency. Because right next to that chip change is something even more important, the switch to a MediaTek modem. Now this is huge. Pixels have struggled with connectivity and battery drain for years, and most people blame the battery size, but it was really the modem. So if Google fixes that, suddenly your Pixel doesn't just benchmark better. It feels better every single day. That's the kind of upgrade you don't notice in a spec sheet, but you notice after a week of use. Quick side note, before we go deeper. If you're into clean setups and wallpapers that actually match this kind of minimal pixel aesthetic, that's exactly why I've been using Wallverse lately. It's not just about making your phone look good. It's about making it feel intentional. And that ties directly into what Google is doing here. Less noise, more refinement. Now here's the part almost no one is talking about enough. The possibility of a removable battery. And yeah, it sounds old school, but this could be one of the most future-defining changes in smartphones. With upcoming EU regulations, companies are being pushed toward repairability, and Google seems ready early. If this actually lands beyond foldables, it changes how long you keep your phone. Instead of upgrading every 2 to 3 years, you might just swap a battery and keep going. That's not just a feature, that's a shift in the business model. And not every company is going to like that. Also, real quick, over 70% of you watching aren't subscribed. And that's fine, but if you're into these deeper breakdowns, the stuff behind the headlines, this is exactly the kind of community we're building here. Not hype, understanding. And the more you look at the Pixel 11, the clearer it becomes, Google isn't trying to win the spec war anymore. They're playing a longer game. Small design tweaks, smarter chip strategy, better efficiency, subtle camera evolution. It all points towards something more stable, more mature. But at the same time, it raises a bigger question. If Google is finally fixing the fundamentals, what happens when they decide to go aggressive again? Take care and stay safe. I'll see you in the next one soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.